Hey, what's up? It's the Culture Detective here investigating your favorite albums. And today I'm going to be doing a quick album review on the brand new album from Icelandic post-rock band Sigur Rós with ÁTTA. So Sigur Rós, I have already said that, is a post-rock outfit from Iceland. They have been making music since the 90s, and they are responsible for some of the most well-known and fantastic post-rock of the late 90s and early 2000s. Just to name a few, Ágætis Byrjun, Tak, and the album Parenthesis, and particularly the album Ágætis Byrjun. I have to talk about the album a little bit because this is I listened to this album the first time when I was really, really young. When I was like maybe 14 or 15 years old, and it had last a really memorable impact on me. And for some reason, in the last 3 or 4 years, I did not listen to this album all that much, but it is until Sigur Rós released ÁTTA, I was like, oh yeah, Ágætis Byrjun. It's an album that I used to listen to a lot, and I re-listened to it, and I just remember how soft and stargazy and how dark and disturbing sometimes it can be, but sometimes it's also heavenly and grand and soothing. It is a post-rock masterpiece. In fact, I reviewed this album very early on, I think in the year 2018, or maybe early 2019, so you can check that review out as well. But anyways, this is Sigur Rós' first formal studio album in a whole decade. 10 years ago, they released Kveikur, and this album is an interesting change of direction because this album, ÁTTA, is a slow-burning orchestral ambient record with wailing falsettos provided by the frontman of the band, Jonsi, all over the place. And at some point, it gets really orchestral and really dense that it feels like a movie soundtrack. Now, I guess one of the things that throw people off about this album would be the production, because it is very sterile, but I think the spaciness and the dreaminess makes up for it at times. So we have the album opener Glöð, which has the very interesting sounding reverse tones. The swelling strings are very gospel-like and heavenly, and that's how I feel about the first 4 tracks of the album. It's that it just feels very heavenly. There's something about the swelling strings and just the heavy thick reverb that makes it feel like I'm slowly ascending to heaven. The second track, Blóð is a much quieter track with some really nice falsetto vocals laced on top of it. And the third track, Skell, while I don't think is as strong as the first 2 tracks, what I like about it is that it gets really cinematic. And I think the best track on the album is easily the track Klettur, which is the most dynamic track. We get this constantly thumping beat and strings that are very, very, very large in scale, and it sort of goes up and down and it slides along. It's very epic, it's very grandiose, and some very interesting sound play comes out of it. So we have the first 4 tracks, which I think is not bad at all. The rest of the album is just less heavenly and less impressive in my opinion. Tracks like Andra sort of meanders around and has some pretty tame chords that it just didn't elevate the track anywhere, and I can pretty much say the same for many other tracks on the album. That just kind of stagnates because it doesn't have a lot in terms of dynamics or progression, which is what normally people would go for in post-rock. But still, the track list does get interesting at a couple points, such as the track Gold, where the vocals take more of a spotlight position instead of the swelling strings. We get more vocals here because the strings are a little quieter. It takes more of a backseat here, and it turns into more of an emotional and heartwarming ballad with some enveloping strings that sort of swell at the end in a very beautiful way. And the album ending is called 8, which is a nearly 10-minute long track. The first half is as heavenly as it gets, and the second half is just pure quiet, which may throw some people off, but I think it's a pretty interesting direction. So yeah, overall, this new Sigur Rós album, while it's not perfect, it's far from that. I do think that there's some potential in it. They can turn this ambient album into, or they can turn this ambient idea into something way more interesting than that. So yeah, I'm giving ÁTTA a decent 6 out of 10. So, have you listened to the new Sigur Rós album? Comments below, let me know, subscribe if you want more, and thanks for watching.